Let's go.
Anytime you coach anything at the professional level, high school level, even at the kids,
So let's dig into that.
the
Let's
kid level.
let's dig into that. The reason why we're talking about all of this, as you can see going across the bottom of the screen, Eric Bienemy left what was a pretty green pasture in Kansas City last year to go to Washington.
So my next point.
In doing so, he was going to really be elevated to assistant head coach. He's still the offensive coordinator. Ron Rivera got fired, slashed in Washington. Dan Quinn became the guy. We initially saw Kingsbury commit to being the offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. All of a sudden, he backtracked that. Now we see him take that position in Washington. Now, the key here, what a lot of people might not be thinking about, Washington has the number 2 overall pick. Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winner, is a DMV guy. He grew up in the DMV area, could be coming home to play for the Washington Commanders. I really hope they change that name. I hate the name Commanders, but could be coming home to play for the Commanders. The Bears still have that number 1 pick. We could see a scenario where Sam Howell ends up as the Bears quarterback or not. We could see Justin Fields end up in Atlanta. That's probably one of the best opportunities for him. Or we could see Justin Fields just stay in Chicago. But it looks like the Washington Commanders are going to make a play to get that first overall pick now that they're bringing in Kingsbury. So, Dub, you were saying you don't feel like Kingsbury is a leader of men. I want you to kind of elaborate on that and give me more. Because when we just say he's not a leader of men, what are we basing it on?
I mean, it's the eye test and what you can see. I
So
mean,
what's the eye test on a leader of men?
it's simple. It's quite simple. I mean, Hard Knocks, for example, the 2022-2023 season of Hard Knocks, the Arizona Cardinals were featured during the regular season. So Hard Knocks have a split of preseason work and then during the season work, which I like that dynamic because you get to feature different teams. When I watched the Arizona Cardinals lose close games and he was trying to galvanize his men, you can just tell by the locker room, the pulse, that he just was not convincing. He wasn't convincing. And when you're a leader of men, you have to be convincing. Look at D'Amico Ryan from the Houston Texans, leader of men. When you actually look at Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers this year, made it to the playoffs and made it past the first round and beat the Cowboys.
I think the only difference is you're naming all head coaches. And,
Yeah,
and now he's going to be an offensive coordinator.
Let me wrap it up now.
Okay, bring it home. We need to know what you're talking about here.
He was a head coach. So I've seen him at the head coaching position not be a leader of men. And when I think about being an offensive coordinator, one of the things about being an offensive coordinator is your guys have to be disciplined. They have to be disciplined to avoid penalties. And in order to instill discipline, you have to be a leader of men. He can't lead. And then one more thing. I want to touch on Bienemy. Quick second. You say you're the type of person that if nothing's broke, then you're not going to fix it.
Sure.
I feel the same way. However, Eric Bienemy's situation was broken and it needed to be fixed. And the only way for it to be
about Eric Bieniemy's situation.
When you're talking about interviewing with over 10 to 15 teams and not getting a head coaching position, right? Something's broken. So he had the lead.
What I'm saying though is he interviewed with 10 teams and didn't get a head coaching position, and then he still left to essentially be in the same position that he was in for a much worse team.
He's trying to prove himself, and that's the point. Case in point, right? When you have a sorry team like the Commanders comes in and he provides that jolt that they need from the offensive side of the ball, that's just proving his point that he should be a head coach.
But did he do that? Is the question. I think he did.
I think the Commanders' offense, in my opinion, looked better than it has looked in the past few years, if you ask me. Sam Howell looked decent. The offense was actually scoring. The problem was the defense just wasn't playing up to what they could be.
So why didn't the Commanders consider him for their head coaching position?
They wanted to start fresh, new ownership, right? So Magic Johnson and team did not bring in Bienemy and Darren Rivera. They want to start from scratch.
I think they didn't consider him because maybe there's something we are not seeing or don't or not privy to know, but there's something there, because
How do you,
even in this cycle, I didn't hear anything about Eric Bieniemy interviewing for any of the head coaching open roles. Maybe he did.
well, he just got fired.
If you heard anything, let us know in the comments. What was that?
Well, he just got fired. I mean, typically they
I
will
mean,
bring in
people interview for
coordinators.
jobs when they have jobs all
Yeah,
the time. So
typically
him
they
getting fired
will bring
has nothing to do with
coordinators
it.
for interview, but maybe they didn't know how the Washington situation was going to pan out. There's still some
Man,
vacancies out
listen,
there, bro.
listen. If a team got a guy and you want the guy, you go get him. You're not waiting to see how the situation work out. So that's what I'm saying. Even though we keep advocating in certain ways for Eric Bieniemy, I don't really know any of these coaches personally. All we know is what the players are saying. Sometimes the players are biased. They want their guy to get an opportunity.
Mm.
That's all in a way fine. But the same way we know in corporate, you still got to interview for the job. Some people don't interview well. I don't know, maybe if he's not interviewing well, but I think it's very telltale that he didn't get the opportunity last year. And this is no in any way, this is not a knock on Bieniemy. I'm just simply saying that he didn't get the opportunity last year. He goes to Washington to take this essentially the same job. I get it's probably a little more money. You got the assistant head coach title or whatever added onto it. You get a little bit more money. You go to a worse team, and now a year later, you out of a job.
I don't know. We're gonna see what
When you could be coaching in the Super Bowl next week.
we're gonna see what Dan Quinn. That doesn't matter to him at this point. He already got a ring. We'll see what Dan Quinn does.